Okay, so we're going to go ahead and get started. So thank you all again for attending and taking the time out of your day to show up to our webinar. This is the October Infrascale Partner Webinar. Today I wanted to talk a little bit about managing your lead and your sales funnel and just provide a couple of tips, things that I've seen work well for partners that I've worked with and things that we use as well. And hopefully you can take some of this information and see it benefit your business. We're also going to talk about some program updates and an upcoming early access program to a new feature set we're releasing pretty shortly here, so we're excited about that. So to get started, for those of you who don't know me, my name is Derek Wood. I'm the Director of Channel Enablement here at Infrascale. I've been with Infrascale for quite a bit. I've been in the backup and DR business for about 10 years now. And I've been on all sides of the business: sales, support, service delivery, product management, marketing. And throughout almost every role I've had, a lot of it has been working with IT service providers like yourselves, or MSPs, VARs, the whole gamut, and seeing how these services can impact your business and that of your customers as well. Just a quick recap of what we've covered over the last few months, in case you missed it. They are all available on our YouTube channel, so you can search for Infrascale and you'll see a partner playlist, and it'll have all the past webinars. So in July we did a big update after we were awarded by Gartner as a leader in the Magic Quadrant for Disaster Recovery as a Service. We went through some other feature updates. And then in August, we started this campaign where we've been going kind of away from just talking about features and incentives for you guys to sell more, and actually trying to go more in a style of what are some things that we've seen work for your type of business model that you could possibly use to better in your business, whether it's growth or better services, more complete offerings, etc. So in August, we did a topic from tactical to strategic services, and there's going to be overlap in all of these. In September, we went through a new DR evaluation tool and a customer grade card. And then we had a campaign workbook that a lot of you have also seen, so to help you plan out and organize your campaigns rather than just kind of shotgunning the world and hoping that you make some money out of it. So today what we're going to do is we're going to go through, first, you need to have a clear strategy when it comes to your lead and sales funnel. And then once you understand your strategy, then it's about just making sure that you're defining value at every step. And it seems pretty basic, but it's also one of those things that gets overlooked. For you baseball players out there, it's kind of like getting into a bad habit and dropping your shoulder, dropping your elbow. Keep that elbow up, and practice makes perfect. So you got to be minding the store to make sure that you know what's going on. And then we're going to go into some Infrascale updates that we talked about. So to open up, per usual, I just want to get a feel for what you all are selling today. So is it just Infrascale Cloud Backup, which is the software-only direct-to-cloud backup? Is it Infrascale Disaster Recovery? Is it both, or you're not sure, or are you still considering the program? I think pretty much everyone in here today is going to be a partner. All right, just a little bit more time. All right. Dallas says, software only, our clients don't want to spend money on the larger appliance-based models. I think we're going to have some real exciting stuff for you coming 2018. Really, it's going to be exciting stuff for everyone, but not yet at liberty to present about it, but it's going to be good, and it's going to help expand out of just cloud backup. Okay, so we'll close that and share. So this is good. Everyone is very sure of what they're doing. We have a couple of people that are still considering the program, so welcome. I'm not going to be diving too much into our program or overall value propositions today, so you're just going to get a taste of some of the work we do to help our partners. Okay, so let's move right along. So the first thing is really just understanding the concept of every interaction you have is a sale. So you want to make sure that you're delivering value at every step, just like you would deliver value in a sale environment. In marketing, you call this a call to action. So you build a web page. What is the call to action on that web page? What do you want people to do after they read whatever you put up there? This is something that a lot of people overlook. You find a lot of web pages and there's just tons of information. There's 15 different buttons. It's very confusing as a user. Where am I supposed to go? Am I supposed to, are you funneling me through different things? But to make it simpler, you just want to make sure that you're defining the value that you're adding at every step someone needs to take in order for them to go where you want them to go. So if you're sending emails, why are they going to open your email? What is the relationship they have with you? The subject lines, that's why marketing people spend so much time on language and wording for subject lines, and it seems asinine, but it really is. The first thing is, why is somebody going to open up this email with this subject line? When I send out invites to you all, I just make it very clear. It's a very functional subject line. It's the Infrascale Partner Webinar. You all know what's coming. So that's all it is. I don't need to ask for your time more than the content in the next step, right? The next step would be you read through what we're going to talk about, and then the value of clicking the link would be, do you want to hear more about the little bit of information I gave you in the email? Why are people going to answer your phone calls? Why would they register for your webinar? Why are they going to call you back? Why are they going to buy from you? This is something that, if you incorporate value in every part of your process and from a sales perspective and marketing perspective, you'll find that you probably don't have as clear of a call to action as you would hope. And it actually simplifies your flows quite a bit when you boil it down to what's the one thing we want people to do when they reach our homepage, what's the one thing we want people to do if they reach a landing page, this sort of thing. And then being able to adjust your call to action, because your call to action may be wrong. Maybe people don't want that. To adjust that, it takes time to, first you create a hypothesis. What do we think people want? And then only through monitoring and seeing how many clicks you're getting or all that can you actually adjust. So again, deliver value at every step is the main point of this. The second big thing is understanding your funnel. Even if you haven't defined it, everyone has a funnel, right? It's really basic. This is just a basic funnel that I just grabbed. And what are you doing? Where are you getting leads? Many tech businesses, or many small businesses in general, industry doesn't really matter. A lot of small businesses do most of their business through referral networks, but this is part of your funnel. So first, understand what your funnel is, and then when you understand what your funnel is, then you want to apply your overall strategy to each stage. Deliver value at each stage. Now, when it comes to having a strategy is also a style. I would suggest trying out the Challenger sales model, sales model. It's something that I really enjoy because it's a very unaggressive approach to sales. What you're doing is you're creating a constructive challenge, a tension, and you're doing this through education. So what you do in a Challenger model is the information you have at your website, the information you project in speaking with people, is you're delivering some sort of insight that changes the perspective on business. Um, when you go further and they understand, okay, I'm thinking differently, then you want to frame that messaging in the context of whoever it is you're talking to. And this can come in the form of evaluations, something of that nature, use cases, things that are really going to resonate with whomever you're talking to. And this is pretty basic for sales, right? Um, the third part of it would be, you are going to be open about the fact that you're looking for a sale. There's no reason to beat around the bush about it. Oftentimes, hiding that fact can be a little awkward. But you just be open with what you're going to do, and that could be as simple as, hey, we did this evaluation. This is what we came up with. Here would be our proposal for what we could do to make that evaluation look a lot better. I know we created a lot of tension for you when we went through that. We want to bring some relief in. And then throughout the whole cycle, you're leveraging this challenge, challenging knowledge, top 5 things you don't know about being a small business owner. The top 3 things most small business owners don't do. I'm challenging the way you think about your own work being a small business owner, and then I'm challenging the way you're even conducting your job. And I'm also somewhat creating a sense of urgency and that you're going to be left behind. Top 3 new things that small business owners find success with. Things like this. So you have to think about, what you want to challenge. You're not going to, you're not starting a fight. What you're doing is you're creating a different perspective that people generally wouldn't have. And being that we're in the tech business, and we're selling to non-techs most of the time, you have to boil it up to a value that they understand. It's not about, you need backup and you get into the granular details of dedupe, encryption, and all this. It's, top 5 risks businesses have by going cheap on backup. That's a big one, right? A lot of businesses, usually they pick the cheapest option they can because they just want to check the box. But maybe they don't understand that going cheap really is a more expensive route in the long term. So you can look this up online. There's tons of seminars and YouTube videos, but this is something that I like to do. And then the way that you would apply this strategy to each funnel, and I'm going to go through an example. You would say, okay, we're going to use statistics and case studies and trends to educate people on why they need what we're selling. And then if they get to that point where they understand, they're educated, then we want to transform that into something of value to them. Continue the education. Maybe you get some sense of time frame from them at this point, one of the BANT criterias. And then you get an evaluation, and the evaluation would be the second step, right? Like, let's talk about this in the context of a simple campaign, doing a webinar or a seminar, lunch and learn, beer and learn, whatever you want to do. So the first part is you're inviting people there to learn something. People like to learn. People want to be educated. They don't want to be left behind. Then the step after that session is, well, why would they call you next? It's like, well, let us give you an evaluation so you can really see where you stand now, and then what could be the future given the solution that we have for you. And if people fall through at each one of these steps, that's where you're what you call a nurture campaign. So they would go into a bucket of leads that you have in your database, and every once in a while you'd send out a nurture message that reinforces the education and the value that you talked about with them, whether that's through additional trends, case studies, statistics, that sort of thing. It could be phone calls, sales follow-up. This is a natural kind of flow for salespeople to go into, but when you apply it in mass towards your whole prospect base and your customer base, then you can really start seeing some traction. And then once you get the evaluation done, the value should be clear. Also, because we are techs selling technical services, you're never really going to define the budget early in the sales cycle here. That does happen with some of you. I know a lot of you do have a business model where you complement existing IT structures. So you almost come in to, expand their internal IT department as needed, or maybe you're just handling specific parts of their network or their IT problems. That would be a little different, but still more of the same. At least those people, they would have some sort of budget. I'm going to bring this into ransomware in a minute as an example of how these things apply. So once the evaluation's over, at that point, they have the evaluation, they're educated, which is why they went for the evaluation, and now it's just about, how much do they value what you were able to provide to them, and now we're kind of talking about the final BANT criteria, who has the authority to make the decision. That can usually get hit up early on. What is a suitable budget? A lot of times people are going to have to make the budget based on the value or the need. I like to say value instead because it's more positive, but it's also more true to what we're trying to do. People should be spending money on things that add value. A need is a type of value. Time frame, budget, authority, then you get into a sale, and then you cycle people back into this. So let's take an example. So we'll do that same framework, but in ransomware protection services. So first, we educate customers on the growing threats and how it has changed the approach to cybersecurity, and it's changed their risk of operation. Most businesses, despite how common of a topic this is in the tech world, most non-tech workers still don't really have any idea how serious of a problem ransomware is. So we're still very much just doing a education on that. The next step after we do the webinar is, why would they want to give you a call? Well, at the end of the webinar, we said, hey, we understand this is a lot to swallow, but we're going to do this for everyone. We only need about 20 or 30 minutes of your time, and we're going to give you a tailored risk assessment that would show you what would potentially happen during a recovery process in your business if you were to be hit by ransomware. And we already educated on the risk and everything, so we won't repeat that. And okay, well, wow, 20, 30 minutes, and I get another assessment. I mean, worst case scenario, I get another assessment. And it either validates what we already have and we don't need to change, or it identifies some major holes that we need to consider, and then maybe we need to create a budget to make the change. So it's a light touch. During that evaluation, you provide some of the things that you would do. You might even slip in an example proposal or a proposal, and then again, you're being clear that you do want their business, and you're exchanging this evaluation and information for more of their information and time, and you're delivering this piece of value. But eventually you would like to get a sale, right? And then, as the sales cycle continues, you just continue to use latest ransomware events and incidents to reinforce the urgency, to reinforce the value, to do everything. So you've created this tension in the educational piece, and we're just going to keep this tension alive because we're going to provide them the relief, right? So that's our job, is to bring peace of mind. So that's how we do that. So some examples. So this is overall. So education by stats. Did you know that every 40 seconds a business in North America is infected with ransomware? And did you know that 72% of those businesses are down for at least 2 days? I might even put a different stat in here now that I'm thinking about it and saying it out loud. I'd probably put, and did you know that 80% of businesses that are down for 3 days or longer haven't go out of business within 12 months? That's huge. And then this other one, like, oh, also there's a trend, 2,500% increase in ransomware purchases in the dark web. So now we're migrating from stats to trends. We're seeing, people don't like to be left behind, and they don't like to be blindsided, right? So we're seeing more sophisticated attacks day in, day out. The amount of attacks that don't even use malware are increasing. That means if your cybersecurity is really based on a firewall and an antivirus program, you are going to be completely unprotected and unprepared for the new wave of cyber attacks coming. We've never had a cyber criminal market this large. And this, I'm not lying about this. I'm not even exaggerating. These are all facts, right? So these are trends that you and I keep on track of so that we can innovate our services. For Infrascale, it's innovation of the tools that you would use. For you all, it's innovation in how you deliver those services to your customers, innovation in how you price out the service options. Can you roll everything into a managed service package, that sort of thing. Then there's educating to differentiate, and a lot of you are probably fairly familiar with this presentation. So it's one of the things is top 5 reasons businesses aren't prepared for ransomware. I'm challenging businesses. I'd probably even be better off targeting this and not say businesses, but say SMBs or small businesses. And then you have these talk tracks, and this talk track goes through all the different reasons people aren't prepared. And of course, as you're doing this presentation, you're creating a challenge and a tension, but you have the relief. You have the answers. So that's what we're doing. You create this tension, and then the only way to get tension relief is to take the next step with you. I got a lot of good questions about materials, and I'll get to that at the end. We got a lot of stuff for you. Okay, and then you do an education with a case study. This is great for relatability. So you don't want to send a case study out about a celebrity getting hit with ransomware or a senator getting hit with ransomware, which happens and happened. You want to do something more relatable. So you get a case study for one of your own customers. Case studies are really easy to put together, and if you all want help with that, you can shoot me an email after this and I will help you put together a case study. Not a problem. I would be happy to do it. And this case study, and this is interesting because this is even from your perspective, right? This is a case study of one of our partners. I'm not sure, I think someone might be here from this partner, but they had a ransomware attack on 2 different customers within a week of each other, and they spent 320 man-hours recovering from the one that only had a backup and didn't have a disaster recovery option from Infrascale, and then the one that did have Infrascale's DR solution, it was less than an hour. So that's a stark difference. And so that would be a case study that you wouldn't so much use to show, you could use it in 2 ways. You could show, look, this is what happens when we don't have the right tools to do our job. This is what happens when we do. And then, we talked in the previous webinar, not all revenue is profitable. Not all customers are good customers. So, you may use a case study like this to tell people, no, I'm sorry, but if you're not going to have, what we consider to be the bottom line of security services, then we can't take you on as a customer because it's too much risk to us, that sort of thing. So you do this education, and then the real part where the sale really picks up is when you actually get them on the phone to do somewhat of an evaluation. Now, I actually created a template for a basic, I think I called it the customer risk assessment tool, and this is available in the Partner Resource Center, or if you have the mobile app, it's available through there as well. But what it does is it's a very quick thing. You can go through it in about 10, maybe 15 minutes, and at the end, it calculates out what would happen. And I apologize for the ugly screenshot, but this is what it looks like. You can always pretty it up. But it just shows, look, if a ransomware attack happens and infects your network, this is a likely scenario. In terms of what we found, in terms of like what kind of backup system you have, it would take us 28 hours without breaks to recover your whole business. Based on your downtime evaluation, which is part of this workbook that is available in the Resource Center, we've estimated your downtime, and And based on this recovery, you could potentially be losing about $150,000. But we have relief for you. We have a solution where we know and can guarantee no matter what happens, you're back up and running in less than a couple hours. And in less than a couple hours, your downtime is really pretty negligible. But if it weren't, you'd max out at about 10,500. So that's a much better scenario than here. And so you're looking, so delivering a large amount of value doesn't have to be a lot of work. And I do what I can to help things along. So if you guys take a look at this and you have some feedback, or you'd like to see some improvements or some different things added, there are a lot of variables that we can add to this evaluation sheet. You can do it on your own, or you can send your suggestions my way, and I'll look to getting that incorporated. But what we're doing is educating and creating attention, and then providing relief, and that's the flow. The other part would be a solution. So I have this customer grade card, and you don't have to use a grade card. You can use a thumbs up, thumbs down system. But this would also be, maybe part of your, part of your cover letter. So when you send them their evaluation, you say, and you know what, this is how we grade you today based on what we saw. What we could do within the first quarter is get you to here and here. And for that, you could give an estimated cost or something, but what you're doing is you're giving them an option for relief, so they could, hopefully they choose your option. Their other option, if they had an evaluation like that, would be to go find somebody else, and they'd have to go through all that time of evaluation again. They're probably not going to be as organized as you were, because that's why we're awesome. We're organized and we're clear communicators. And then that solution is hard to say no to. So I'm going to take a break here and hit some questions. And any other questions, go ahead. Are you folks going to be at CES in Vegas? I think so. I will not be, but I'm certain that we will have somebody go. CES, being a consumer show, is not something that we play a lot in, since we're primarily a B2B shop, but we usually have somebody attend, but I don't think we're going to be there as a vendor. Do you have case studies available that we can give potential prospects? Absolutely. There's a whole case study section in the Partner Resource Center. And nice to see you, Sean. I haven't seen you, we haven't talked in quite some time. Will we be able to get a copy of the presentation deck? Yeah, absolutely. I'll post this into the Partner Resource Center early next week, and then this recording will also be on our YouTube channel. And for all of you, one of the first things I would suggest doing is get the mobile app. Let me see if I can. Quick break. I'll paste. Yeah, hold on. Let me paste that in here real quick. So I'll paste the link to register for the mobile application. The thing that's nice about the mobile application is that it really just simplifies getting news from us, staying up to date. So what I do is I post everything in there, from product updates, new releases, new collateral. So there's the link that you can all go register for the mobile app today. It's free. It's really just designed to make it easier for you to find presentations. We have a whole new campaign in a box. So right now I have one, and it's a ransomware themed campaign in a box, and it contains everything that, well, most of the things that you would need. Everything is pretty inclusive. But as presentation, it has ads if you wanted to run some ads on Google or Facebook or something like that, LinkedIn. It has landing pages with all the assets in HTML. It has emails, all the things you would need to run a campaign. So take a look on the site, and it's under the new sales resources section. And if you have the partner mobile app, you'll get notified when we add more. So right now it's just a ransomware themed, but I'm gonna be adding more and more campaigns to this over time. Okay. Another big thing is if you all haven't spoken to your partner success manager in a while, you should give them a ring. We have a program going on right now that is going to pay you when you make money. So that's really it. We want to give you more money to make money. So go for that. Question, what is the link to the mobile app? That's just to register. So you go in there and you put your company name, if it's not already in there from somebody else registering for it. And then you can put your mobile number in there afterwards and it'll text you a link directly to download and sign you in, and that's it. And I really use it to communicate important things. So like last week or 2 weeks ago, there was a terrific study that came out from Carbon Black and on ransomware and the ransomware economy, and I posted that to the news feed. So I use this to communicate with you all, and in the next few months, it's also going to let you communicate back with me very simply and easily. But if your sales team needs product sheets, competitive comparison information, anything in the Partner Resource Center, if they have the app, they no longer need to know what the login is for the dashboard. They can just pull out their app and get all that information. So it makes it a lot simpler. Your technical team, they don't have to keep track of emails saying that there's an update available. They'll get notified. You know, all sorts of things. We have a webinar that you missed. We post the recording. You get notified. All that fun stuff. So it's just designed to make communication with you much simpler, and you don't have to deal with all the email clutter. Okay. Now the big thing today is Infrascale Cloud Application Backup. So we are on the verge of releasing cloud-to-cloud backup. We're going to call it ICAB, another acronym for everyone to remember, Infrascale Cloud Application Backup. Right, we're going to start with Office 365, SharePoint, and Google Drive, but all of these things on the list are going to be available eventually. So what we're doing today is we're going to ask again, if you haven't already answered, would you like to have early access to this? I don't have a question in here. I suppose I should have asked it, but how many of you are interested? You know, how many of your customers would benefit from having a cloud-to-cloud backup? I know that I feel a lot better having a cloud-to-cloud backup because I do use Google Docs quite a bit. What I had been doing is I was just syncing down to my machine, making everything available offline, and then backing that up with just the Infrascale Cloud Backup, which got the job done, but it wasn't as, you know, if I do that, then you're not taking advantage of using the Google Cloud storage rather than your local hard drive. But it's nice. Okay, so far 80% of you are in the yes category. So in the early access, you're going to get an email from us probably next week, and we're going to ask you to try it out and give us some feedback. We're also going to circulate some different pricing models and see which ones you like best. So not just a early access and the functionality, which we think you guys are going to be happy with, but also with the program. You know, we want to make sure that the program is a program you can make money with, and you know, doesn't devalue the benefit of the functions. So we'll be sending that around and collecting feedback, and I'll thank you. Oh, now 86%. I'll thank you 86% in advance. So thank you. Okay, so that was the webinar for today. It was pretty short. I left it a lot of time open so that we could have some questions. Feel free to shoot me an email, add me on LinkedIn. Happy to connect with you all. Any questions about what we talked about today? Adding value. What are some? Do you have any values that you've tried adding but they didn't work out? What was your next step? That sort of a thing. I have a question here. So we did a webinar and we had a big list of people. How do you decide who values what when you're trying to follow up with 50 or 60 different people? It's a great question. So that comes into kind of an internal process. I'll explain what I do. So we ask poll questions in webinars for a reason. Those questions give us an idea of where your values might be. Sometimes being very direct, like, do you want us to call you for an evaluation, is the best way to do it. There's one school of thought that says, well, we don't want people to say no because we want to be able to call them. Maybe we can still convince them. And that's true. So if you ask for a free evaluation instead of a call back, they said no to an eval, not to being called. So it still gives you a chance, a bit of semantic play. But my thought is, if people are if they've heard your education and your pitch, and the education didn't convince them that they have a need or a value, and they say no right there with a very direct question, why waste the time? Move on to other opportunities. One of the things that you have to consider in your follow-up plans is time to contact. It's momentum. So when somebody attends a webinar, they register on your web page to get a meeting. Your time to contact is the most important metric to track in your whole sales cycle. Every day and even every hour that goes by, that momentum is dropped. Their mind is going to change. People get distracted. It's a very fast world we live in today. 140 characters at a time. So you want to make sure that your time to contact is critical. And to do that, you have to prioritize who gets called first and who gets called later. The people that say no, they don't want an evaluation, I put them to the back of the list, and I'd contact first immediately, within an hour, if not sooner, the people that said they did. And then your first time to contact would be just to set up a meeting. For those, usually before you have that list, you've already sold them on the next step. So why are you going to give us a call? Don't give them a speech about all of your services. Make it simple. You just gave them a big talk and say, give us a call today, and in 15 or 20 minutes, we're going to go through an evaluation with you. And at the end of that, you'll have an estimate of what your cost of downtime is, and then in very specific scenarios, we'll estimate how long it would take to recover from that happening, and then what that would potentially cost your business. And then from there, you can evaluate what you have or make a decision. We'd also love to be a part of the next step thereafter, and we can provide you with some options for what we could do to help you along. All right, other question. There was talk about adding a beefier on-site backup component to OBRM. Any word on when that's happening? I don't want to talk to the product team or talk for the product team on that, but we do have the local backup was rebuilt, and that was released I think a month or two ago. And then another question, none related. When will bare metal recovery kick in from Infrascale, and when can replace the Shadow Protect license with it? Well, that's actually available today. So but you're still probably pretty close to. We're coming up in 2018. That's when the real news around the Infrascale BMR is coming around. Because the exciting part about Infrascale's bare metal backup isn't that we have a bare metal backup. It's what we're going to be able to do with it once we have it in our ecosystem. So Shadow Protect gave us some limitations that we couldn't do what we wanted, and that's why we built our own. So that'll be forthcoming. So look for news. I hope I can give you guys. I'm hoping that at the end of this year, or maybe sometime in Q1, we'll be doing an early access program for that. So that's going to be really exciting. I'm very excited about what's going to happen with that part of things. All right, I think that'll sum it up for us today. I want to thank you all for your time. And maybe if you guys want to let me know what you thought about the shorter style webinar. I'm thinking that maybe an hour is too long, and trying to keep it to a good 30 minutes or so. So thank you all, and have a good one.